Hi, I'm Scott. I'm the part-time audiophile, and today I'm going to talk about something painful, something unpleasant, something I probably rate right up there with eating lima beans, which is talking about audio cables. There is a, I guess, belief in the audiophile community that cables must make a difference, or that cables cannot make a difference. And it seems to be the case that it's one of these two camps. You don't get many people on the fence, at least not statistically. I think a lot of audiophiles that have explored cables have come to the conclusion that they can make a difference. They can make a subtle difference in many cases. I personally have not found cables that have profoundly altered the characteristic of the component that they're attached to, but I've enjoyed some cables. Some cables have actually made improvements. Some cables have made anti-improvements. Some cables have actually been completely indiscernible, one from the other or from even other brands. It's hard. So it depends on the system, right? It depends on the cable, depends on the, I don't know. It just does. It depends. It's the consultant's answer. When it doesn't depend on a consultant's answer, that's, I think, a win. When you can invest in something in your audio system and have it make an impact, I think that's worth calling attention to. Sometimes that impact, again, can be mild, subtle. It can be little. It can be something, whatever, something other than wickedly obvious. And that's all right. What I found with headphones and cables is that the difference, it depends, right? Like every other audio component, cables depend. Some cables I have found are rather good, stock cables. They're just fine. I don't really see any value in upgrading them. Or I haven't, literally, with my experience, I have not found any value to upgrading them because the stock cables were either good enough or the replacement cables were indiscernible. So why bother? I've also found opportunities to swap out cables where, I think it makes a big difference. It always bugs me, though, when I think about the cables that come with a pair of headphones. It's something that sticks in my head. Is this headphone having the performance characteristics that I'm hearing because I'm using the stock cable? Is it because I am not optimally using this device? Could it have been better if I had used a better cable? So, to that end, I decided to stop being totally, OCD about this and just kind of get some cables and try them out and see what it, does. So I settled on a cable company that was recommended to me by my Audio 360 friends, who was working with a company called Double Helix Cable. Double Helix, run by a guy named Peter Bradstock, has got a variety of headphone cables that are pretty bespoke, going up from relatively inexpensive, simple stuff for, relatively inexpensive headphones, up to some extremely expensive cables, woven by virgins up in the Himalayas. Just kidding. But it's expensive stuff, right? So silver-plated copper or a variety of other silver conductors, or just the presence of high-grade precious metals in the mix tend to do horrible things to pricing. But the question is, does it do anything to sonic qualities? I don't know, right? What I settled on was something that I think most people would agree make a difference, right? So I get some good copper with decent connectors and some quality of pay to the other elements in the cable design, like the types of conductors, the type of conductor being used, and the dielectric and the wrapping and all of that stuff. Anyway, Double Helix makes a very nice set of cables. The cables that I have here are from their Complement2 line. They're using really nice silky kind of wrappers around these cables. I like them. They're very nice to touch, and I'm a tactile kind of guy. I like to fondle things. Maybe a little too much. It's okay. These are mine. I bought them. The connectors themselves are relatively high quality, which is good too, right? Good pins. They look hollow, or better yet, kind of not solid, which is kind of good. So it's just kind of light on the conductor there, very heavily shielded, nice weight, a little bit of bling on the outside, some carbon fiber. I guess some people would say that may actually contribute to the RF or dampening or something, I don't know. But the cable itself is a nicely put together blingy cable. This starts at a couple $100. I think it's like $500 for a set of cables, which is not cheap. So what would you use these with, right? Obviously not your Beats, no. But I've got a variety of headphones here that I like to think of as reference quality, things that I have personally invested in or have gotten the luxury of being able to use. My Sennheiser HD800s, these little spaceship cans, these are not my favorite headphones. They are very, very good. They do detail like no other headphone I've ever heard. And I got a set of cables for them. Balanced cables, you know, one each per. I guess that's about as optimal as I'm willing to go, right? I also have a pair of Abyss headphones in for review. Same cable, right? Different connectors on the headphone end, but same connector on the amp end. And I also have a pair of Odyssey LCD3 phasers. These are the new guys. Very fancy. But again, same cable. And I did this to eliminate the possibility that there may be a cable contribution, or introduce the fact that there is a cable contribution, so that when I talk about the three headphones, the things that I'm reporting on, you know, you could say I have standardized one of my variables. And you know, I will, when I talk about individual headphones, I will swap out the stock cable for these cables just to see if it makes a difference. These cables, I believe, are interesting and allow me to do something rather cool with my personal reference headphone amplifier here, a Cavalli Audio Liquid Gold. Cavalli I like very much because it does allow me to do some really neat stuff with headphones, especially driving the living daylights out of any particular headphone I happen to have. The individually powered connectors here allow me to basically juice up anything I want, up to including and especially these insane beasts from Abyss. I also have a balanced output here, which allows me to do straight up 4-pin kind of dual cable. And I have the TRS jacks in the middle of these left-right balance adapters, so I can basically have all of my worlds covered. Now, for those of you that are wondering, well, you know, what about amps that don't have dual whatevers, you know, dual XLR outputs like the Cavalli? Peter does make some adapters. One of the adapters that I got was an ultra short. It's a pretty fugly little piece of equipment here, but there's no real wire, right? It's adapter to adapter kind of direct connection, shortest signal path being the best signal path. This is one of the options I got, again, as a way to optimize my configuration. I also have another one, a dual 3-pin to 4-pin. Again, not particularly cosmetically pleasing, but it's the shortest signal path. There's nothing in between here. It's just wiring these things almost directly into each other. It's something, right? Maybe it's going to help. Adapters are not normally the things that audiophiles tend to look at with favor. So getting the one with the least amount of interference possible, maybe that would be a good thing. For those of you that require a little more bling in your bling, you could get an adapter like this, right? So he makes these for Complement. This is, I believe, actually a molecule cable. Maybe it's the Complement, but it came with the, I got it at the same time, right? So this is an adapter that's a 4-pin to TRRS for AK240 and maybe the new, I think the new AK100 Mark II and the 122. These would work with that. And again, another different configuration, wire, phono plug, 3-pin, XLR, whatever. I'm hoping this is going to help kind of cover some bases for me and allow me to do a bit more kind of exploration. Some headphones, I think, actually benefit from a little extra power, a little extra attention. I think my HD800s, for example, need a little extra to get them going. If they are just normally powered off a phono plug, it sounds, sounds like an HD800. But when I have used these dual XLR plugs off of a heavy, high, massive, wicked solid state amp like this one here from Cavalli, the bass is different. It's different, right? It's got a much more robust presentation, and I think a lot of Sennheiser devotees would be pleased, would be surprised, would be actually maybe a whole lot more than that. We'll get to that at some point. The LCD headphones, these are pretty easy to drive, right? So they don't necessarily need a ton of output power. It may help. I haven't really kind of found it to be revelatory as a change. Maybe that will alter with my own personal experience. Maybe not, I don't know. But again, it's just trying to standardize. The Abyss headphones, I have to say, they are designed as a balanced headphone. They are best used with a balanced amp, and using them with anything else has been not as happiness oriented as it is when I use it balanced. So I tend to like to keep it as clean and simple as possible. So straight in has been really kind of nice. The cables are nice. They're easy. They're relatively simple. There's some play here. They're not as loose and flexible as maybe his other cables are. These are really flexible and easy to use. No microphonics, whatever. And I think Molecule is the line that comes from. The Complement stuff, without the jacket, the stuff is really kind of easy to manipulate. This stuff is a little more stiff. Right? It'll hold its shape a little easier. You can see it kind of holding its coil here, which may make it a little more difficult to use, especially in kind of mobile applications, if you will. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this kind of wire for a headphone on the go. Of course, I don't really do headphones on the go because that may be dangerous. I need all the attention I can provide to my surroundings because I'm clumsy. But when I'm sitting down in some other place, maybe at a hotel, I would maybe think about popping this stuff out. But definitely here in the home, I've got my bar used for not alcohol, which I'm sure will make many of you very sad. But I have the headphone gear set up here, and it just kind of is really handy. And I found the sound quality, generally speaking, just generalities all across, to be really nice. It does provide a little bit of harmonic richness, I think is a good way to put it. I found some cables to have a bit more, and I don't know how to say this right, maybe it's linearity in the sense that they don't necessarily seem to emphasize any particular part of the frequency band. I've had some cables that tend to be harmonically focused in at the mid-range. I think of it not as tubes versus solid state, but more like Class AB versus Class A in solid state. Class A presentation tends to have this kind of warmth flowing from the mid out. No real focus on the extremes, but some focus here in the middle. Class AB tends to, perhaps by contrast, take some of that middle and scoop it out to the sides. Maybe more of a classic V-shape presentation, even though I don't think that's what's happening. Right? I don't think there's actually an emphasis at the bass and treble. I believe that it's just more flat across the board, though tomato, tomato. I think that these tend to do more with the mid-range in the sense that there's no real scooping, there's no loss. It's kind of rich in that middle. But the bass is very impactful. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to use it with the Abyss headphones. These have the best bass I have ever heard on a headphone, bar none. And I mean that, bar none. And adding a little bit back into a presentation that is very extended with impactful bass seemed to be a really neat kind of combo. So whatever, that's what I've got. So double helix cables, very well made, not cheap. I would not recommend the Complement2 for your inexpensive headphones, but if you're looking to take your expensive headphones, your $1,000 and up headphones, to that next level, I'd give it a shot. In fact, I did, and I've got this kind of standardized cable portfolio now to use, just in case it may make a difference. It may not. It may have been a strange and unusual expenditure, but I felt I owed it to you. It's one of those things I just wanted to eliminate as potential impacts. So I'm hoping to be able to use it. Anyway, that's it. Double helix cables, check them out. They're pretty cool. I love the way they're built. The build quality is extremely high. Peter's a good guy, extremely responsive, and as companies go, I've been very, very pleased with what I've found so far. So that's it. Appreciate you tuning in. Thank you very much, and we'll catch you soon.